So I want to talk about telling a story, and I want to show a couple of examples that help you to understand about what you should be thinking about when you're trying to tell your graphic novel. The first question mark is what the plot is. This is one of the first things you ought to be thinking about. What kind of action are you going to be showing in your story? The action helps the reader or the viewer of your story to be able to understand what's going on and compels them to continue to read what it is that you've written. As a writer and as a graphic artist, you are helping to tell them about the pace, how fast the story is going, the climax, when the major events happen, and then the end, when they should stop reading. You have control over all of those things. And it's really good to start to experiment with that. What can you do if you try to speed things up or slow things down? When you bring in a climax or when you bring in more subtle, interesting moments for the reader. The next thing you want to think about is the theme. What is it that you're trying to tell your reader? What are you trying to have them walk away with when they're done looking at your piece? What message do you want to have in their mind? Let's look at this image straight away, which is the Sheikh Zayed Mosque in Abu Dhabi. As you look and see the photography here, what do you think the photographer is trying to tell you about this place? Do you think that he likes this place? Do you think that he wants you to think that it's an important place, one that should be enjoyed? Or does he feel like the place is not worth the time to enjoy it, that it's not worthy? You tell me what you think. As we talk about theme and plot and how they go together, it's really important for your plot to help your theme. If your plot isn't helping your theme, it will seem disjointed, and your viewers won't come away with a good idea of what you're wanting to tell them. It's really important along the same line that you know the end of your story. When you know the end, how it should finish up, then you can go back in story time or graphic novel time and alter things so that you can have the most impact. The next, aside from plot and theme, that you need to consider is who is carrying your story. That is, your characters. Characters are the ones that the action happens to or help to drive the action. That is, let's look at these houses that are made. These are a potential type of character. And in this case, human characteristics or personification will happen to these characters. We'll see in just a moment some examples. The idea of it is your character can be anything. We've seen that before with balloons, popsicles, rocks. Almost anything could be a character. The issue that you get to is how are you going to show those human characteristics so your viewer can relate to your character, even if it is just a rock or a house or whatever it is. One of the things that you can do is to use dramatic lighting. You notice that the previous photo had no lighting. It was just ambient lighting, that which was around regardless. And often we have that in class, right? We just have the regular lighting that we have. But if you create a situation or an environment that you can have better lighting, like the two photos that we just saw, you can see that now we have a whole different look at these little houses. Instead of being just a group of random houses that look fine, now we see that these houses have power, or far more power, because of the darkness around them and the light inside of the house. And we're immediately drawn to one house, the one that's the brightest inside, instead of just any of the houses that we saw in the first image of the houses that we saw. It's really important to think about your environment. What's around? What are you bringing into the image? And what do you need to bring out of it? Not only characters, but also other items that might distract from what your story is. Finally, I want to talk about practice, final shots, and post-production. Practice is really important. What that means is you write the story once, and then you rewrite it in order to be able to improve it. And then you write it another time, and possibly another if you need to. The reason why you do that is because it's very rare that we tell the story the best way the first time. Often as a writer, we need multiple times in order to be able to make our story the most powerful and impactful for our viewers. As you look at the left-hand side, you can see the beginnings of a story. The beginnings of a story have a very sketchy look with just basic circles and ovals in order to suggest people. As you get to the right-hand side, then you can see that some of these are improved. They're still very abstract, and they're just basically circles, but they're a little bit more improved. And also you can see that the story changed slightly. Now you have a little bit more in there, and you have a slightly different rendition. This is the third, and now you can see that the characters are made far more realistically. You can tell who they are and whether they're male or female. And then you can also see some script, like the round balloons that have text in them. Furthermore, you can see that from the first one to the last one, you have more close-ups and more far-away shots. You have different point of view wherever the camera is compared to the characters. This is very important for you to help your viewer to stay on track with what you're trying to tell them.